Hi there, welcome back for this week's edition of Rockpile Readers. I'm Stephen Zacharias from the Campbell County Rockpile Museum, where I'm a museum educator. This week, we're back in storage again over at our Rohan storage facility, where we have items in our collection that we just don't have space to put them on display for the public. So for this week's edition of Rockpile Readers, I've climbed up here on the buckboard of a prairie schooner, which is very appropriate for this week's book. Remember, at the conclusion of the book reading, to click on the links below for additional activities related to this book. Our book this week, Four Wheels West, a Wyoming number book. 1 is for the polo field, America's oldest one. Come see the polo players. Enjoy, have some fun. The nation's first polo field is set at the base of the Bighorn Mountains in Bighorn, southwest of Sheridan, Wyoming. It was originally laid out so that the British Army officers could observe horses run the length of the field in order to judge their gaits. The horses were bought for soldiers to use in fighting wars. A regulation polo field is 300 yards long and 200 yards wide. The goalposts, which are made of light material in case a horse runs into them, are set 24 feet apart at opposite ends of the field. It takes 6 months to a year to train a polo pony. Polo ponies must have docility, speed, endurance, and intelligence. The peak age of a polo pony is 9 to 10 years old. The term pony is traditional, and it is a full-sized horse. 1. 2 is for the wheel ruts. Over hill and dell, by covered wagon on the Oregon Trail. For the 250-mile stretch across Wyoming, all the major immigrant trails came together and converged at Fort Laramie. The Conestoga wagon, with their boat-like shape, were called the schooners of the prairie. The wagons ranged from 24 to 26 feet long and stood 10 to 12 feet high and weighed close to 3,000 pounds. Conestoga wagons were made of oak or poplar. The tight-fitting bed and sides were caulked with pitch and could float across the river with the wheels when the wheels were removed and strapped to the sides. Mules or teams of horses or oxen pulled the wagons anywhere from 8 to 12 miles in a day. 3 is for trumpeter swan, the largest swan of all. With graceful snow-white beauty, it makes the loudest call. Wyoming is one of the 4 major nesting grounds for the trumpeter swan, the world's largest swan. Yellowstone National Park is one of the best places to see and study them. Its wings can span 8 feet, and a male swan called a cob can measure 5 feet from bill to tail with its neck extended. This swan can sometimes weigh 30 pounds. The female swan is called a pen, and a baby a cygnet. In 1932, only 69 trumpeter swans were counted in the United States. Today, there are almost 10,000 birds. The trumpeter swan makes the loudest call of any North American bird. Its deep-toned cahoo call sounds like a horn. 3. 4 is for elk arches in Jackson Hole's town square, made from many antlers, a sight unique and rare. Visitors enter Jackson Hole's town square through 4 unique arches made from hundreds of elk antlers. In winter, the snow-covered arches and trees are draped with festive lights. The local Rotary Club planted the park's trees in 1932. The annual Boy Scout elk antler auction in Jackson Hole is held in the 3rd weekend in May. About 5 tons of antlers are collected annually from the refuge. Elk antlers are used for furniture, belts, and taxidermy. Sales attract hundreds of buyers. The antlers sell for an average of $10 a pound. 80% of the proceeds help fund the feeding of elk on the refuge. Afton, Wyoming's best known attraction is the world's largest elk antler arch, an 18-foot high arch that extends over the main street. Built in 1958, it contains 3,011 antlers. 4. 5. 5 is for the number of people per square mile scattered over our state. We live in Western style. Wyoming is the 10th largest state in terms of land area, yet it is home to less than 1/600th of the population of the United States. In 2003, the estimated population of the entire state of Wyoming was 501,242 people, which is close in size to the city of Denver, Colorado, with its population of 556,835 people. Wyoming ranks 50th in population among the 50 states. You guessed it, every other state has more people than all of Wyoming. In Wyoming, 91% of the land is classified as rural or countryside. The two main urban or city areas are Cheyenne and Casper. The average distance between Wyoming towns is 119 miles. 5. 6. 6 is for the Basque dancers in black and red and white, stepping, jumping, twirling, a very festive sight. Basque dancers may be accompanied by an accordion, a tambourine, and an ancient Basque flute, pronounced chistu. The Basque, meaning the chosen people, come from the Basque area of France and Spain. They became the dominant sheep people in the early days of Johnson County. The language of the Basque people, which many Basques still speak today, they are trying to preserve their heritage with clubs that pass on the traditions of their dance, costumes, songs, food, and public festivals. 7. 7 is for sugar beets growing in the fields, soaking up the sunshine, producing super yields. Sheridan, Wyoming serves as headquarters for all of the Holly Hybrids nationwide sugar beet seed research and development. Its objective is to create more productive and disease-resistant sugar beets and varieties. While you know sugar is used in baked goods, cereals, soda pop, and other sweet treats, did you also know sugar is used in leather tanning, printers' inks and dyes, and even in the textile sizing and finishing? Chemical manufacturers use sugar to grow penicillin. 1 ton of sugar beets can make 225 pounds of sugar. Brown sugar is sugar crystals prepared in molasses syrup, giving it the brown color. The rootlets on a sugar beet can draw nutrients from the soil as deep as 6.5 feet. Did you know that lemons contain more sugar than strawberries? 7. 8. 8 is for the Black Angus. They dot the prairie land, Wyoming's many ranches, and truly vast and grand. Beef cattle and calves are Wyoming's most valuable agricultural products. The Angus breed, which originated in Scotland, are often referred to as dotties, a Scotch term for polled or hornless cattle. George Grant of Victoria, Kansas, imported the first 4 Angus bulls in 1873 to the Kansas Prairie. Grant crossed the bulls with native Texas Longhorn cows and produced calves that were hornless. These Angus crosses survived well on the winter range and weighed more the next spring. Black Angus have become an important breed because they are considered hardy and winter well in Wyoming. They mature at an early age and are heavily muscled in the region of the high-priced cuts of beef and yield a high dressing percentage, the amount of usable meat that is obtained from a live animal. A heifer is a cow that has never had a calf. 8. 9. 9 is for fireweed, lovely purple spires that sprouted in the park after Yellowstone's fires. Fireweed was named for its ability to grow like a weed in recently burned lowlands or subalpine areas. It's a 5-foot rose pink spires bloom during the summer. They grow from rhizomes, underground root-like stems, which take hold deep in the soil below the duff. The duff is the layer of soil which heats to lethal temperatures during a fire. In 1988, Yellowstone National Park experienced the worst fire season in the park's history due to the heat of summer, extreme drought, and high-speed warm winds. A total of 1.2 million acres burned. At first, park rangers allowed the fires to burn because it's part of the forest ecology. Ecology is the relationship between living things and their surroundings. Forest fires clear away old trees to make way for new plants and trees. For example, heat from the fire causes lodgepole pine seeds to pop from their cones. Fireweed helps to reclaim the land after the fire. 9. 10. 10 is for sage-grouse, which dance and strut about. See their courtship ritual in springtime if you're out. Wyoming's most plentiful and widely distributed native game bird is the sage-grouse, North America's largest grouse. Wyoming is considered the sage-grouse capital of the United States. Males have large mustard-colored throat pouches that are inflated with air during their traditional courting ritual. The female grouse shows submissive behavior like slim plumage and silent movements during the ritual to avoid male hostility characteristics of male-male encounters. The sage grouse, like the mule deer and antelope, depend on sagebrush lands for survival, and Wyoming has more sage than any place in North America. You won't find sage grouse where sage doesn't grow. In winter, sage grouse, also called sage hens, depend entirely on the soft evergreen leaves and shoots of the sagebrush to survive. Sagebrush produces a volatile oil that acts as a natural herbicide, preventing competition from other plants. This sweetly pungent bush grows from the deserts to 10,000 feet in the mountains. 10. 11 is for oil rigs, bobbing up and down, pumping on the rangeland or just outside of town. The mineral extraction industry is the main driver of Wyoming's economy, with the production of coal, methane gas, natural gas, and oil. In 2002, Wyoming natural gas and Wyoming ranks 7th among all the United States in the production of crude oil with 54.7 million barrels. On Wyoming state seal, the words livestock, mines, grain, and oil represent Wyoming's wealth. The first recorded discovery of oil in Wyoming was an oil spring near Hillard when Fort Bridger was established in 1842. However, Wyoming's first oil well was drilled in 1884 southeast of present-day Lander. Petroleum or crude oil is found near sedimentary rock. The word petroleum comes from 2 Latin words meaning rock and oil. Wyoming's first oil refinery was built in Casper in 1895. An oil refinery prepares oil after it becomes from the well and turns it into petroleum products like gasoline and kerosene. 11. 12. 12 is for the only trees once found in Old Cheyenne. Many of the trees today were planted there by a man. 12. In 1876, Mrs. Nanny Steele reported that only 12 growing in Cheyenne, the state capital. In 2004, a tree inventory evaluation was done in the central part of Cheyenne. It showed that the populous species, cottonwood, poplar, and aspen, comprised 19.8% of the inventoried trees. The largest percentage of species, the cottonwood, the state tree, has waxy leaves that help it retain moisture during the hot summer months. Wyoming state capital, located in the heart of Cheyenne, resembles the national capitol in Washington, D.C., but it has a gold dome that shines in the sun. The cornerstone of the building was laid on May 18, 1887. A mounted bison, the third largest bison to ever be listed in the Boone and Crockett Book of Records, can be seen in the state capitol building in Cheyenne. 12. 20. See the flock of 20 lambs as they jump and play, bouncing happy bundles on a springtime day? Sheep provide meat in the form of lamb and mutton, wool for clothing, and carpets and milk for drinking, and cheese for making. In 2003, Wyoming was the third leading state in sheep production with 460,000 animals, the second in world production. Sheep are even-toed hoofed animals that chew their cud and can live up to 20 years. The first sheep came to Wyoming in 1870. Some ranchers wanted sheep, so like cattle drives, sheep herds were driven up to Wyoming from the west coast. 20. 30. In the sky are 30 hot air balloons in flight. Rainbow colors, airborne, make a lovely sight. Many hot air balloons can be seen at the annual Riverton Rendezvous Rally in July. The city of Riverton is surrounded by the Wind River Indian Reservation. People ballooning at the rally get a great view of the Wind River Mountains, the state's longest and highest mountain range. The name Wind River Mountains originated as a Crow Indian reference to the warm Chinook winds that blow down the Wind River Valley. The Wind River mountain range runs along the Continental Divide. On the east side of the mountains, the Wind River flows toward the Atlantic Ocean, while on the west side of the mountains, the Green River flows towards the Pacific Ocean. Hot air balloons are used to commercial flights, pleasure rides, business advertisements, and sports. Sometimes people get married in a hot air balloon. 30. 40. Elk are grazing along a mountainside. A mighty antlered bull elk protects his herd with pride. The world's largest single elk herd is found in Wyoming. Near the border of Grand Teton National Park, the 25,000-acre National Elk Refuge provides a winter home to 7,500 elk every year. They remain there for about 6 months. The elk are fed supplementally if forage is not available. In winter, horse-drawn sleigh rides are available to take visitors for a close-up look at the elk herd. The Shawnee Indian word for elk is watapi, which means white rump. The Algonquin Indians also referred to elk as watapi. The Shoshone Indians hunted the elk for meat and clothing. The elk horns were used to sharpen knives and grow points, and elk teeth are used to decorate their clothing. In autumn, during the mating season or rut, the bugling sounds of the bull elk echo through the mountains. 40. 50. Look, 50 giant windmills, road soldiers near the sky, are generating energy as the wind blows by. The high plains of Wyoming has an endless supply of wind, where you will find wind farms, collections of windmills used to produce electricity. Hundreds of windmills are needed to produce significant amounts of electricity. The Foot Creek Rim project in southeast Wyoming was dedicated on Earth Day, April 22, 1999. The turbines at the project, where the average wind speed is 25 miles per hour, can produce enough electricity to power 2,700 homes. The turbines can produce electricity with wind speeds from 8 to 65 miles per hour. If winds are above 65 miles per hour, the turbines automatically shut down to prevent damage. Electronic control systems point each turbine into the wind and make adjustments to the pitch of the blades to make the best use of the wind for any speed. 50. 60 ancient fossil fish. These Nita discovered were buried in the sandstone until they were uncovered. The state fossil, the Nita, was adopted on February 8, 1987, due largely to the efforts of elementary student Fred Holbert of Cheyenne. He spoke in front of the State House of Representatives and State Senate to promote House Bill 361 for the adoption, as well as promoting it on the local radio shows. 50 million years ago, a large body of fresh water covered parts of Wyoming and Utah. Nita swam in these waters. They died in masses and sank to the bottom and were covered with sediment and became fossilized. Rich deposits of fish fossils were exposed during the building of the Union Pacific Railroad. Part of that area near Kiermer has been protected and has become Fossil Butte National Monument. 60. 70 horned lizards are basking in the sun, waiting for a passing ant to lick up with their tongue. Wyoming's rough terrain is home to the northern short-horned lizard. This creature, or one that is active during the daytime, is dull-colored, brown or gray, with horns that are little more than short, stubby nubbins. A single row of fringed scales can be found along each side of its abdomen. The horned lizard, often called the horny toad, eats sow bugs, spiders, and other insects, especially ants. High temperatures are needed to stimulate its appetite. If threatened, the horned lizard can squirt blood from the forward corner of its eyes for a distance of several feet. 70. 80. Using 80 shiny jewel bracelets will be made of precious mountain stones, polished gems of jade. The world's largest piece of jade, a 3,336-pound nephrite jade boulder, was found near Lander in the 1940s. Jade was adopted as the state gemstone on January 25th, 1967. Jade is a semi-precious stone that comes in various shades of green, apple, emerald, leek, or blush green. Pure jade is white. Any other color of jade is impurities in it. It is one of the nature's toughest minerals, even harder than steel. 80. 90 shiny native fish. The cutthroat trout's for you. Look for it in the crystal lakes in water clear and blue. The cutthroat trout is a native of the Rocky Mountains and became Wyoming state fish on February 18, 1987. It's an aggressive feeder and popular with fly fishers because it's a scrappy fighter. It grows 10 to 20 inches in length and has a crimson slash on either side of the throat below their lower jaw. There are 4 subspecies: the Snake River trout, the Yellowstone trout, the Colorado River trout, and the Bonneville trout, which is the rarest. 90. 100 bison in a herd. In Yellowstone, their home, protected by the government. These shaggy beasts do roam. Wyoming state mammal, the bison, was adopted on February 23, 1985. In 1894, the government made a law to protect the remaining bison in Yellowstone National Park, which is still home to one of the few large wild populations of bison. The Durham Buffalo Ranch near Wright, right here in Campbell County, has one of the largest private herds in the country with 3,500 head of bison. Bison, nearsighted animals with a keen sense of smell and hearing, are the largest mammals in North America, weighing up to 2,000 pounds. Commonly called buffalo, these shaggy beasts are technically bison. The only true buffalo are the water buffalo of Southeast Asia. Pioneers burned bison droppings or chips for fuel. They dried chips, burned fiercely with a minimum of smoke. 100. Remember to click the link below for activities related to today's book, and we'll see you next time on Rockpile Readers.